Hi, I'm Connie Robinson. I was born to deaf parents. My father was also blind, and they were not very nurturing, if you will. And I always knew from a very young age that I was not the child that was wanted. And when my father passed away at my age of 11, 2 weeks later, my mother left me at the apartment complex, and she took off with a girlfriend of hers, and I never saw her again. Eventually, I became part of the foster system, and I stayed there till I aged out at 18 and decided to go to community college. But there's a little section in there that I'm always afraid to talk about, but LifePoint is so pro-transparency that if I don't share this part of it, I may not resonate with someone. In my senior year of high school, I quit school and I attempted suicide. And when I woke up in the hospital, I was so angry because I couldn't even get that right. Because my whole life, I never succeeded. And so that began a journey of self-hatred. And so I did go back to high school, I did graduate, and I started nannying, becoming a nanny. And while I did that, I also went back to school. And while I was in college, I met this great gal. Her name was Barbara. And she kept inviting me to go to church with her. And I had no interest whatsoever. So finally, I just went to shut her up. And the message just really pierced my heart. And I found myself almost running down the aisle to be saved. So life went on. I went to college again. I became a nurse and got married. That marriage ended in divorce. I still struggled all that time with depression and not being good enough. But I ended up moving away to Florida, and I was introduced to a church that was truly gospel-filled, grace-filled, and I lived there for a couple of years until the Lord called me back to the Carolinas so I could be close to my grandchildren. And I came back and I was just really sad because I left a good group that I thought were like my family, and that's what I've always yearned for, is that sense of connection. So I decided to drive around because I wasn't familiar with the Fort Mill area, and I drove past LifePoint. So I went home and I looked it up online and I thought, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. And so I walked in the door and I never left. I didn't have to do 5 tries. I knew the minute I walked in the door by the way I was welcomed by so many wonderfully warm people. It took almost an hour to get out of here on my first visit. And by the following week, I was connected into a life group and I was connected into serving. And this church, LifePoint, just blows me away because, never having that sense of family, even married, I didn't have that sense of family. LifePoint's changed my life, and it's enabled me to be more bold about my faith. And I want to scream it to everybody. I want to share my faith with everybody because I watch people carry me. When I first started coming to church and I joined Life Group, I lost my job and I was unemployed for 5 months. But the Lord knew, and the Lord provided through people I didn't even know. They carried me, and I will never, ever forget that. I will always be eternally grateful for that. I started out in Gina and Jeff's life group, and they are the ones that truly carried me through my job loss. And then I transitioned out of that, went into an empty nester group with John and Lori Hatcher, who just embraced me. I mean, I'm pretty shy until I know you. And so to go into a group again of people that I had no idea, they embraced me as if I'd always been there. And I couldn't love any of both groups. I couldn't love any of them more. And they have become like family to me. And they reach out because, when you're single, it's hard. People forget that you're sitting home alone. And especially during COVID, I had so many people that reached out, which was just such a blessing because I think as we get busy in our own lives, we forget there are other people out there, be it widowed or divorced or just single and searching, that need that contact. And that's what both life groups have done for me. And they've become my family. They have become my lifeline, and they can become anyone's lifeline. And I encourage life groups more than anything. Life groups, I believe, are the heartbeat of this church. And I can't say enough about them.